You ever have one of those days where you have a sudden burst of energy and you clean your entire house? And then other days where you just cannot get off the couch? Well, what's really going on there? Today, we're going to explore our internal compass, those fundamental forces of motivation and emotion that basically steer everything we do and color how we feel about it. It all really kicks off with this simple but honestly pretty deep question. A question that, let's be real, most of us have probably asked ourselves at some point. This gets right to the heart of what makes us tick. So, in this explainer, we're going to follow this question and see if we can find the answer. Okay, let's dive in. You see, that feeling of being motivated or lazy, it's not just a random mood. Nope, it's actually a signal. And that signal points us directly to our first big topic, the whole science of motivation itself. So, what exactly is this force that seems to have so much control over our daily lives? So, what is motivation really? Well, think of it as the why behind absolutely everything you do. It's not just some fleeting feeling, it's the internal engine that, one, energizes you to even start something, two, directs you on where to go, and three, sustains you to keep going. It all comes from our internal needs, our desires, our goals. That's where motivation is born. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. This drive we have, it doesn't just come from one single place. It actually comes from two totally different sources. One comes from deep inside of us, and the other, it comes from the world around us. Let's break that down. So on one hand, you have intrinsic motivation. This is when you do something just because you love it, like getting totally lost in a subject just because you find it fascinating. But then on the other hand, you've got extrinsic motivation, and that's all about the external stuff, the reward. So you might study that exact same subject, but this time your goal is to get a good grade. Both are super powerful for sure, but they come from completely different places. Our motivations are often built on this kind of foundation of needs. A psychologist named Abraham Maslow called it the hierarchy of needs. The whole idea is that we're driven to take care of our most basic needs first, food, water, safety. We have to get those sorted before we can even start thinking about the higher level stuff like feeling accomplished or reaching our full potential. It's like a ladder we're all trying to climb. But here's the thing, our drive to act, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's always got a partner, an inseparable one, emotion. So if motivation is the engine, then emotion is kind of like the fuel and the weather you're driving through. Let's take a look at how these powerful feelings shape our entire journey. So what exactly is an emotion? It is so much deeper than just a passing mood. It's this complex reaction that basically hijacks your whole system. Your body feels it, your behavior shows it, and your mind is consciously experiencing it. It's a true full-body event. To really get it, we can break down any emotion into these three core parts that all happen in a flash. Think of them as the ingredients that mix together to create all the feelings we experience, from pure joy to intense anger. Okay, first up, you've got the physiological arousal. That's your body's alarm system going off. You know the feeling, right? A racing heart, sweaty palms right before a big presentation? That's it. Next, there's the psychological part. This is the subjective feeling itself, the actual label your brain puts on the whole experience, like, oh, I'm feeling nervous, or wow, I'm so excited. And finally, you have the behavioral expression. This is the outward sign that everybody else can see, like a big smile, a furrowed brow, or maybe even a little jump for joy. All three of these things ignite at once to create one single emotional experience. And here's something that's so crucial to remember. All our emotions, even the ones we might call negative, are incredibly useful. Fear and anger, they're not just unpleasant feelings. They're actually ancient survival tools designed to protect us and alert us to possible danger. They have a job to do. Okay, so now we've got our two key players on the board. Motivation, the force that makes us act, and emotion, the feeling that goes along with it. So what happens when they finally meet? This is where things get really practical for all of us. This chart right here shows it perfectly. It's a principle known as the Yerkes-Dodson law. And basically, it shows that as our motivation and arousal go up, so does our performance. But, and this is a big but, only up to a certain point. If you push past that peak and get into high anxiety, your performance can literally drop off a cliff. The magic always happens in that sweet spot, right in the middle. So the big question is, how do we stay in that sweet spot? Well, the key skill here is something called emotional intelligence. It's the ability to recognize what you're feeling and why you're feeling it, to understand what others are feeling and then use all that info to navigate situations better. It's really the key to managing that delicate dance between motivation and emotion. And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. You see, mastering our internal compass, it's not about trying to get rid of certain emotions or trying to force motivation when it's just not there. No, it's all about finding a healthy, effective balance between the two. All right, so let's just bring it all together. We started with motivation. That's the engine that powers our behavior. Then we explored emotion, the colors that give our experiences meaning. We saw how these two forces team up to shape our performance. And finally, we learned that finding that right balance between them, it's not just about being successful, it's the actual key to our well-being. I want to leave you with this final thought because it just sums everything up so perfectly. Motivation decides what we do. Emotion decides how we experience it. So the next time you feel that spark of motivation or that feeling of laziness or happiness or sadness, just take a second to check in with your internal compass. What's it telling you? And how can you use that information to navigate your day?